Well, I'm Karen Wood Middleton, and I am Corey's mom. I have the privilege of being his mom. What a blessing.
Sometimes maybe it might be a nightmare. No, I'm just joking. All right, so all I'm gonna do is ask you questions. I don't want to say try to be as short as possible, but sometimes I ask you give me five or just give me one or run it off. And first thing that comes to mind, so don't think too hard about it.
Okay.
All right,
And
so we'll
just do
start.
this if you want me to.
Nah, yeah, I got you. We'll start with in 5 words. Describe what your childhood was like.
Wow,
That's one.
fun, structured, church, sports.
Okay. If you had to put yourself in a category, like the typical categories, what were you like in high school?
In high school, I was a sports jock, played basketball, hockey, track. But then on the softer side, I was a majorette.
What is a majorette?
Lead the parade with the baton, throw it up, turn it around. Yeah.
Twirling.
Twirling.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How would your parents describe you?
Wow. Well, I think my mom would describe me as independent. She always kind of pushed me forward to answer the questions, to represent, to do what I needed to do. I was the babysitter for my younger brother and cousins and everybody else who needed supervision. And, I think I'm very verbal and just independent, can go out there and do. And my mom liked that. My dad, on the other hand, would describe me as funny and, I think part of me is his personality all rolled up into one. No situation makes me uncomfortable, and I can just go with it. And that's my dad.
Pops. Okay. When you think about a fork in the road in your life, what was it and why did you choose that particular path?
Well, I had several forks in the road, but a path that comes to mind is when I moved from New Jersey, New York area and moved to Texas. That was a major fork. And at that time, it was partially driven by the need to be close to my brother, who was my last living sibling, and for our family to be closer together. So I moved to Texas. My mom was there. My brother was there. I had just lost my brother and my dad, and I really wanted to. Family's important to me.
Okay. I didn't know that it would happen around similar time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What happy memory will you cherish forever?
Oh, you're making me say one?
Yeah.
No, I got too many. But the one that is the most pivotal is the marriage to my husband. That is the privilege to marry your best friend. It doesn't happen often. And so that was a pivotal moment because I feel like my life changed literally in the sense that I had not considered marriage until I met Mickey.
Okay, now I don't know if you know. Dad told me last night that he chose my middle name and you chose my first name. Mm-hmm. So, what was the second choice for my name?
We had several choices for your name, and especially how to spell it. But I just knew that you were going to be an individual and that you needed not be named after anyone or anybody. You're just going to blaze your own path. I just always felt that, and so there was not going to be, a junior or named after an uncle or a grandfather or whatever, because you were going to be you. So I love that.
Okay. And this could be anybody growing up. Who inspired you the most?
Ooh, the Lord kept people in my path to inspire me in many ways. My Uncle Jimmy, who was really awesome and kind of spoiled me, but showed me the path of taking care of everybody and caring about your community and God first and then community and then you taking care of family. But the person who walked me through it is Aunt Elvia. It's Uncle Jimmy's wife. And she would teach me the finer things of how to be a servant leader. And we cooked, I feel like we cooked for the world. We served everybody at church, we did. But Aunt Elvia and church and so many people, even when I went to college, it was Madge Haynes. The Lord always put a God-fearing woman in my life to steer me to the next step. Always, in every stage that I was. And to this day, they still play that role. Male-wise, there were many, because I had uncles, but Mr. Ingram, my 5th grade teacher, was a pivotal role in my life. And he taught me some things of how to be proud of who I am and not let people bully me. And I mean, it was just awesome. And to this day, I'm in touch with my 5th grade teacher.
Dang. Okay. If you had to do it all over again, would you pursue the same career path?
Absolutely.
Nice.
My passion for children and people who think outside of the box has always been, even when I was a child, when we played out in the yard, we played school.
The most.
The most.
What was that? Oh, what's the best trip of your life?
I think, well, the best trip of my life was my honeymoon, our first cruise. Obviously, I loved it and was impactful because we're on cruise number 20 now. But the whole reasoning why that's the best is that is set aside, isolated time with me and my best friend and my love. So on the cruise ship, we unplug everything else stands still, and we spend time with each other and we explore new things, and it's just wonderful. So I think the best trip of my life started with the cruise in 1985, and it's continued from there.
Okay. What amazes you most about society nowadays?
The most, like the kids say, the most. What amazes me most is that there's no new thing under the sun. It just gets a new name. And that the world doesn't recognize the shape of, the impact that spirituality and God's plan for this world has. And it's so busy trying to search for truth when it's right there. It's right there in His Word, and they don't see it. So everything that looks like so surprise and new and breaking news has no impact anymore. Breaking news, everything is a 10. And they don't stop to enjoy the life and see what's around you and build up for the next generation. Everybody's just living for themselves, for the moment. That bothers me.
So, then what do you miss about the old days?
I miss the pace of the old days, where the days seem long because you just went out and sat under a shade tree, played the game, read a book, had a big mason jar of Kool-Aid, waited for the ice cream man to come. I miss the pace of just enjoying the moment. Right now, everything is planned. The first example that comes to me is even having babies. This all reveal stuff, who the baby is, make sure you have the right color, make sure the baby's a gift from God, and when he comes, you'll be prepared. And he doesn't come or she doesn't come with a preferred color. It's all going to work out. So I miss the pace of the old days of just enjoying the moment and not worrying about the next thing.
Okay. Looking back at your life thus far, what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of my family and my husband and the fact that we are on the same page 34 years later. The fact that no matter what major challenges have come, and we have seen them all, no matter what the world thought about what we should do, my husband and I stuck together and we moved through it together, happy in the pain. Cancer couldn't throw us off track. And so I'm most proud that the man that God chose for me actually loves me, and we together, we just move through things. I'm most proud of my family. My kids, they are so different, each and every one of them, and that is so fantastic because I feel like the thing I'm proud of is that they're able to blaze their own path and that we've given them permission to do that from knee high. That's why they can be different. That's why, whatever paths they choose in their life, I ask them to remember whose they are and then move forward. And when they make poor choices, they still have to love them where they are, not for what they did.
That's real. You can put your arm on the outside of the, mic. That way you can move your arm a little more freely without pulling. What did you discover in the last decade or two that you wish you discovered sooner?
Wow. I don't know that I wish I discovered sooner. I'm kind of old school, so I kind of roll with it. Maybe workplace things. I might have been doing some independent training versus what I'm doing now, just because the workplace things change so much, but the needs of the students have not. So I don't know. I mean, that's a challenging one. I have to come back on that one.
Okay. Where's the favorite place you've lived?
I think all of them are favorite places, but I have the most fond memories of 3403. We did some things at 3403 in Dalworthington Gardens that I think were pretty monumental. And actually, I think it changed Dalworthington Gardens. I think most people remember the Middletons in Dalworthington more than anything else. I mean, it's a nice, sleepy little area, a country city area in Arlington that most people don't know about, but it woke up when the Middletons moved on the block. So we did some things there that just are amazing, not just in the community part, but just in our own home and the memories of holidays and visitors and Christmases. And so I think 3403 will be etched in.
Forever. Mm-hmm. Okay. What were you doing when you were my age? 28.
Wow. Well, I was getting married. I was married before that. And I had finished college, finished my master's, had started on my career path, was working as an assistant director of Residence Life, and just loving it, living at Ramapo College. And it was a great stepping stone. We lived in what was deemed at that time is called the White House. And it was owned by the college, but it was like a 2-story, six or 7 bedroom place on a couple of acres of land. And the college took care of it, and they cut the grass, and I was in charge of the security and discipline, and of course discipline. That has been my life. I was judicial coordinator and in charge of all the stuff on campus. So it was a wonderful, wonderful time.
Nice. That's a big house.
Mm-hmm.
Big house. What advice would you give your 40-year-old self?
My 40-year-old self?
Mm-hmm.
Probably the same advice that I give my 60-year-old self. Embrace the day. Enjoy the moment. I don't want that to be seen as, don't plan for your future, don't whatever. But sometimes we spend too much time in forethought and we miss the blessings of the day. So I feel like from a young age, I did that. So at 40, I was still pacing myself and enjoying it, not letting the world or other people or other family members shape who we were. I'm proud of who I am and our family, and we live each day, one day at a time, and what you can do for somebody else. Once you do that, you don't worry about other things. Plan for your future, but enjoy the day.
Okay. When did you know you wanted to marry Dad?
Well, this is funny. I knew I wanted to marry Dad, or I knew I wanted to marry someone like Dad the minute I met Dad. And I didn't allow myself to think I want to marry him because at that time he was with someone. But to tell the truth, I was awestruck when I saw your dad for the first time. I didn't know till later that the feeling was mutual. So I spent that time trying to balance myself by not looking awestruck since we were both involved. But the things that I loved about him and that I told other people about your dad was he's a gentleman. He has this amazing voice. When he sings, it's just amazing. And he doesn't do it for show, but he sings like from his heart, and he likes all the old school stuff, so it was wonderful. He reminded me of my dad in that era. And the fact that in that day and age, you find a young gentleman, somebody who's opening the door, somebody who's trying to get to it first so you don't have to do it, someone who's respectful, someone who can just fit in with it, is quiet in the background, but always checking everything out. I was like, wow. Wasn't somebody who was trying to be cool, who was sagging their pants and trying to say little sayings to get your attention, like, hey, he was none of that. And so I knew then, and that's how we became to be best friends. We could talk. Well, he could actually listen to me, and we talked back, and we could talk on any subject. It was phenomenal. So I remember going home one time saying, I was talking to my Aunt Elvie, I said, if I ever get married, I would love my husband to be someone like Mickey. And I thought he was out of my league. He was older than me. He was from New York City. I was from the country. He had done things and been places I had never. And I thought, well, he's out of my league. But Lord, if you ever, just bring somebody in my life that is balanced and independent as he is, that has a love for Christ, I'll just take that. Never knowing that it could be your dad.
All right. What do you remember most about your wedding day?
Wow. I remember the part that sticks in my mind was walking down the aisle. Your dad was just in such anticipation. As a matter of fact, a soft anticipation. I thought he would cry when I was walking down the aisle. But in preparation, what was so phenomenal was we were in New Jersey getting ready for the wedding the day before, and this is way far away from where your dad lived, and he had sent a vanity to my mom's house with a mirror and a bench for me to prepare myself for the wedding. And I thought, who does that? What man thinks about your preparation for the wedding? Right. Of course, Mickey does. And then when we came down the aisle and my dad walking down the aisle, that thing I'll just never forget. And my dad loved Mickey, and really the handoff from my dad to Mickey, I'll never forget. And Mickey was so ready and so prepared. And the best part of the wedding was when we waved at everybody bye when we were going to the airport to leave. Everybody was trying to convince us to stay at the hotel that night and party and all that. We didn't want to do any of that. We wanted to get away and get to know each other. And that's what we did. We flew away that night and went to catch the plane and flew out, and then we got on the ship the next day.
Nice. What family tradition do you cherish the most?
I love our Christmas. I love our holiday traditions, and they were actually born out of practicality. For instance, for Christmas, the fact that my children could enjoy opening gifts and doing all that, but knowing the true meaning of Christmas, we never did anything without doing the Christmas story. We always had a happy birthday Jesus cake. If my kids thought, that a man with a beard provided all these gifts, the man with the beard was Jesus, and he had a beard, and because of him, we could do all the things that we're doing. The time that they enjoyed opening their gifts and playing, the best part of our Christmas celebration was the day after, pajama day. The kids think that was like an intentional thing of the pajama day. It was really born out of exhaustion. We had stayed up the night before putting together everything, cooking, all this stuff. We have company. Everybody's over. The next day, I ain't trying to do nothing. And so they could play whatever they wanted to play. They could eat whatever they wanted to eat in whatever order they wanted to eat it. And when we first did pajama day, I remember clearly one of my children starting off with peach cobbler and all this stuff. And by noon, she was sick. And I was like, that was a very good life lesson. Make choices that are going to stick with you. She was sick. She ate so much. But to this day, Christmas and Pajama Day still live. And I know everybody's building their own traditions now, and I hope that that's the most important holiday to me, Christ's birth and the family time for Christmas. And we can do it on Christmas Eve. We can do it after my family's growing and they're having their own family. But now it's time for them to build their traditions as long as they know the true meaning of Christmas.
Okay. And then last question is, what have you always wanted to ask me?
Well, there's several things, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, I think you're so serious and forethought about most things. A lot like your dad, which is wonderful, and that's what I'm most proud of. But I always want to know, like, what's your happiest moment? What in your childhood coming up that you really enjoyed? Because you always analyze stuff, and you usually analyze it from a different perspective. So what is it that you really enjoyed coming up?
You'll get that answer later. I'm going to answer y'all questions. I'll put it in the video. All right.